With everyone's portfolio being down around 20 to 40%, I thought it'd be good to look back on the positives that we got out of this and what new information we have. And so I have 5 things that you can take away from this crash to become a better investor. Alright, so the number one thing that we learned is that Valve's vision is long-term. They had more than enough time to develop CS2 on their own in the background without releasing it in the rough state that it is. But instead, they decided to put it out and help build the game with its community, which ultimately will make a better game over the long term, although it may be bad in the short. But I think this is pretty important because if you look at a company that you want to buy a stock from, you want to know their future plans, their roadmap, and this is essentially the same thing, or as close as we're going to get. CS2 Empire offers a 0% buy or sell fee with a full peer-to-peer market system, meaning if you're worried about community bans, it is not mandatory to put your API key in, so there'd be no way that Valve knows where you're trading. This market has high liquidity and an auction system where once you list your item, anyone can bid over that price for the next 3 minutes if they wanted the skin. If it doesn't sell within those 3 minutes, then it gets listed onto the market for that price. This allows you to snipe some deals as low as 95% above, and once you sell your skins for coins, there's no wager requirement to withdraw. Thank you to CS2 Empire for sponsoring this video. Now, number 2 is that consumables are king. You can look at most case graphs over time and you'll see that they actually saw an increase in price from before the CS2 announcement until now. And if you look at a lot of play skins, they will have met that price point or even dipped below. And investing in an item that lowers in supply is not a new concept, but a lot of people preferred investing in play skins just because it's easier to liquidate. Another point to add on top of that is the demand for cases does not seem to go away despite the market conditions. We're still hitting really high monthly unboxing numbers compared to what we should be seeing for our player count, and that just makes it even better. Now, moving on to number 3, we learned it's important to carry some cash. What I mean by that is keeping a portion of your investment or skins fund completely liquid as cash in a website or your bank or whatever, and using that whenever you see a dip in the market to dollar cost average. Because if you look at the graph for all the items in CS2, there are a lot of heavy up and downs, and so if you choose to keep no cash and buy no dips, you're leaving a lot of money on the table and could potentially hurt your returns long term by a significant amount, as dollar cost averaging is kind of what I preach. But this also isn't for everyone. Some people are a little lazy, don't really care to capitalize on short-term growth and declines, but nonetheless, I think it's still important for the majority of investors. Now, number 4 is going hand in hand with what I just talked about with your cash, and that's to avoid buying hype and panic selling. No way. It's obviously easy on paper, but the concept I'd like to drive home is that if you see prices shooting up, the only way that it's ever going to stay at that price and increase even more is if you wait out 8 to 10 days and see if it starts decreasing. That's because the trade ban will be up, so the first wave of people will start selling off. And if it stays at that price or higher, then I would consider putting some money in. Otherwise, most of the time you'll get burned. And I've seen this happen all the time, where sudden spikes and sudden decreases happen on a 7-day cycle. And the only exception I've seen to prices rising high and staying high is the CS2 announcement and a bit of the release. And that's a complete black swan event, meaning that won't happen again, and it's not reasonable to count on it happening again. And so with that, the goal is to focus on your own trades and your own portfolio. Consider your good investments, what's been working for you, and what you want to put your money into, not the Bayonet frog patch, for example, because it jumped 30% in one day. It'll probably save you a lot of headache and a decent amount of money. But I mean, hey, who doesn't want to spend $230 on a patch that you don't see in game? Alright, now we are moving on to the final point, and that is the bubble has finally burst. I know, it is time to celebrate, but keep the party hats and the streamers away. Just for a second, let me explain. If you look at the price of play skins compared to the average player count that we've been seeing, our play skins are actually at a lower point, and this shows that the investor sentiment has almost flipped on its head from propping up the market for so long, keeping us in that bubble, to now trying to get out of the market. This largely has to do with how many new players came in and now want to get out, but nonetheless, the 24-hour player count is still staying pretty close to what we saw February 2023 and before. And with some skin prices dipping way below what they were at that time, and you don't think CS2 is going to die, I think it's pretty fair to say that they'll return to that price. And keep in mind, the growth up until that point was almost completely natural, with no new major content, no updates, just purely off of the quality of the game. And with CS2 now, although people aren't happy with it in the short term, they are shipping out updates hand over fist. So it's got potential. and that's all I'll say. But any speculation aside, without the bubble here and a lot of those investors coming out, it's going to make it most likely simpler for investors and much more natural growth, as we've finally seen the much needed correction. But maybe I'm just jacked off of copium, so take that with a grain of salt. But that's what I personally learned from the CS2 crash, and I hope you got something out of it as well. And if you didn't, leave me a hate comment, and if you did, maybe don't. That's all though. Subscribe if you like this kind of content. Bye bye.